Welcome to the She Said Privacy, He Said Security podcast. Like any good marriage, we will debate, evaluate, and sometimes quarrel about how privacy and security impact business in the 21st century.
Hi, Jody Daniels here. I'm the founder and CEO of Red Clover Advisors, a certified women's privacy consultancy. I'm a privacy consultant and a certified informational privacy professional, and I help provide practical privacy advice to overwhelmed companies. And I'm joined by
Jody Daniels' husband, Justin here. I am passionate about helping companies solve complex cyber and privacy challenges during the life cycle of their business. I'm the cyber quarterback that helps clients design and implement cyber plans as well as help them manage and recover from ransomware and business email compromise.
And this episode is brought to you by Red Clover Advisors. Thank you for my drum roll. We help companies to comply with data privacy laws and establish customer trust so that they can grow and nurture integrity. We work with companies in a variety of fields, including technology, SaaS, e-commerce, media agencies, and professional and financial services. In short, we use data privacy to transform the way companies do business. Together, we're creating a future where there's greater trust between companies and consumers. To learn more, visit redcloveradvisors.com. And today, we are so excited to talk about a very important topic, keeping kids safe online. And with us, we have Titania Jordan. She is the Chief Marketing Officer and, super cool title, Chief Parent Officer of Barc Technologies, an online safety company that helps keep kids safe online and in real life. A renowned thought leader on digital parenting, Titania has contributed to pieces in the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Huffington Post, Fox Business, Daily Mail, USA Today, and many more that I can't list here today. And her first book, Parenting in a Tech World, grab a copy, was published in 2020 and quickly became a bestseller on Amazon. Welcome to the show.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me. Can you just be my hype person everywhere I go?
Sure. You know, it also really helps when it's only day 2 back from vacation.
I know. Like, I will take that energy, please.
Absolutely. We have Justin here in his happy shirt.
Can I go back on vacation?
Sure. You can go back on vacation.
Can we just go back to Colorado and come back in September when the heat's gone?
Yeah. It might need to be like October the way it's going today.
H, and H. All righty.
You can kick us off?
I can kick us off. So let's start from the beginning. So talk to us a little bit about how you got started and how you got to where you are today with Barc.
Okay. There's a long answer and a short answer, and I'm going to go with like the medium short answer.
Perfect.
Yes. And so where I am at Barc, as you mentioned, I'm the Chief Parenting Officer and Chief Marketing Officer at this tech company that helps to protect over 5 million children across the nation, which is it's insane in so many ways. It's powerful, the mission. It's empowering as a mother in tech. And the best part about this, and this is an indirect answer to your question, is the fact that I didn't go to school for artificial intelligence or computer science or IT or any of it. Like, I went to school to learn how to be a marketer, and I'm actually really an artist when it comes down to it. I'm a creative. And in the world of marketing today, you have to definitely have that creative aspect, but what you really need is analytical thinking, data analysis, the ability to understand algorithms and retargeting and pixels. And there's so much science and math involved in marketing that it's mind blowing that I am where I am. And it's all, for me personally, it's due to the grace of God. He continues to open doors where I only see walls. And, I'm just so grateful for that. And in terms of, okay, what does that mean, Titania? I know that's a little bit fluffy. What does that mean? I have spent my career at the intersection of parenting and tech, whether that's working at Star 94, a local Atlanta radio station before like social media was a thing, and helping to target women from, big campaigns that were launching in the Atlanta market before, there was a Facebook and an Instagram, to then eventually moving to online and digital marketing, and helping clients and advertisers cut through the clutter of, how do I talk to mom? How do I talk to women instead of at them? And it all comes down to being authentic, building community, making sure that the value proposition you offer is clearly communicated and one that they actually care about. And leaning into that, the power of word of mouth, which thankfully for all of us, we have that amplified so much so now because of social media.
Well, thank you. I am going to definitely have our daughter listen to this because she's not a fan of math. And I love how you connected a creative, which she is, to math. So thank you. I can't wait to have her listen. Switching gears a little bit, let's kind of talk about, the risks that we have nowadays. So said daughter that is creative and hates math rather, is, begging for a phone. And sadly, she has parents that are privacy and security people. And we're like, not so much. And so
you didn't even characterize that right. She had no chance. She went into a brick wall.
Bless her heart.
That's what happened.
Poor child. But in all seriousness, all right, there's plenty of children who have digital devices. I mean, said daughter does have an iPad, just very limited capabilities of what are on it. Now, and of course, all children have phones according to her, right? So everyone has a phone. But in all seriousness, there are so many people out there who have digital devices. What are the common misconceptions that parents have about digital devices and their kids?
Ooh, that is another question that could have a whole 5-hour episode dedicated to it. Common misconceptions are, we'll start with the not my kid syndrome. Like, I know that, sometimes bad things happen to kids online, but not my kid. My kid's too smart. My kid's too innocent. My kid doesn't know where to look for the bad things or the bad people. My kid would tell me if something bad happened, or I would know. I would be able to tell if my child was disturbed in some way, shape, or form, etc. So that misconception encompasses all parents. And it's because good kids make bad choices. And so your kids are great kids. They're great kids. They're smart kids. They're lovely kids, but they're kids. They're going to make mistakes. That's what kids do. And you've given them the opportunity to make an exponential amount of them with this device and this internet access. We didn't have that as kids. Our mistakes didn't live forever on some server in some cloud. So that's first misconception. Second misconception is that you, as a parent, can fully understand their world. You can be in tech like you are and like I am, but you still can't quite relate to what their world is because we didn't grow up that way. If you are deciding between letting your child have access to a device or social media or not, you're essentially determining their social sphere and how they, communicate with peers or be accepted by peers. That's a much bigger decision there. Just in the way that they speak, in the memes that they share, their language, their emojis, the things that are important to them, the trends that they can jump on so much more quickly than we ever could. It's just a whole new world. I mean, think about it. Think about how we dressed in like 8th grade or 10th grade or even senior year, right? Like we needed some help. We got our fashion advice from like fashion magazines and maybe the TV. Now you look at young women, 9th grade, 10th grade, 12th grade, and they have some pretty amazing style. But they're also very, they look very mature for their age. There's just a lot has changed, right? And so that is another common misconception, is that we can truly understand what their world is like, not having lived through it at that same age and that same stage. There's a lot more. I'll pause there because those are the two biggest.
Thank you for sharing.
I guess I'd like to ask you a follow-up question, which is, What are some of the common dangers that kids face online that maybe parents don't think about? Like, I know to think about there are bad people online who want to solicit my kid, but what are some of the things that parents don't think about that are dangers from your experience?
Yes. Thank you for surfacing that. You know, just during the pandemic, we saw a 23% increase in alerts that we sent around online predation. And so, to your point about knowing about, adults with bad intentions that want to solicit your kids, the rate of online predation is only increasing. It's not decreasing. And they are very smart. They know how to access your kids. They know where your kids are hanging out, spending time. So if you don't think it can or might happen to your child, please think again. We at Barc actually went undercover as an 11-year-old on Instagram to to prove how pervasive it was. And within a matter of moments, we had adult men DMing us for inappropriate reasons. And so it was pretty gut wrenching and eye opening. So that's that about online predation. But the dangers are so much more. It's not just online predators. Expanding from online predation, there's sexual content. And sex is not bad. A sexual content in and of itself is not dangerous. It's a beautiful thing. It's the reason we're all here because somebody did that. But the rabbit holes that children can go down. It's not like when we were kids and we'd go to a library and check out a book and consume some quality vetted information or have sex education. It's a rabbit hole. There's a lot of misinformation. And so your children are being exposed to pornography and other certain themes at a much younger age. And it's just, there's a lot more of it. Outside of sexual content, there's violence. I mean, goodness gracious, the things that you can stumble across, even on TikTok or even Google, even with filters, pretty hardcore. And it's jarring in terms of profanity. When kids first get access to the internet, a lot of parents are like worried about the F word and other words. And it's like, that's so cute. That's so cute because it's not a matter of if, but when they're going to see all the bad words, right? And like your problems are going to move beyond that. But Barc does offer a profanity filter for those initial stages. Mental health is a big, it's hard to call it a danger because being mentally healthy is not dangerous. It's great. But the dangers that exist to affect your child's mental health are great, whether they are depressed, anxious, expressing thoughts of suicide or self-harm. Oh, again, a lot of parents don't think it can or will happen to their child until it does. And to give everyone listening some data, suicide is the second leading cause of death in children in this country. And we're talking about children as young as 10 and younger. It is a problem, and we cannot be afraid to address it. A lot of people are afraid that if they talk about mental health or talk about suicide or depression or anxiety, they'll put those thoughts into their children's heads. Your kids are already exposed to it. They just are. And so reducing the stigma, letting your kids know it's okay to not be okay, that there's hope, they're not alone. And even if you feel comfortable doing so or have personal experience with it, sharing with your children, hey, I've actually struggled with XYZ. Here's how I dealt with it. It can be really powerful because a lot of times, myself included, I thought, I have to be a perfect rock of strength for my child. They can't know that I struggle. If they know that I struggle, it'll upset the apple cart and they'll be anxious about their stability in their world. And that's not the case. They need to be able to relate to you about in all the ways. So not to be a Debbie Downer, basically every bad thing you could possibly imagine, multiply times 10, that's on the internet, and chances are your child will encounter it at some point in time.
So I would love, after hearing all that, to keep my kids in a bubble. But I know that's not realistic, especially as you pointed out, right? That's part of their social world today. So I want to be able to protect them, which is a significant part of Barc's mission. I'd love for you to explain to our audience, what is Barc and how does it work?
Yes. So Barc is technology that keeps children safer online. And what does that mean? And what does that look like? And how does it work? We are using artificial intelligence to scan the conversations, the emojis, the pictures, the audio, the video that is coming in and going out from your children's digital signal, whether that's over 30 social media platforms, text messages, email. Barc's algorithm will scan it and then alert when there's a problem. Barc is not going to give parents full unfettered access to all their children's devices and accounts because, to your point, we have to raise responsible digital natives. We can't helicopter them. We can't do everything for them. We can't clear every rock in their path because when they're on their own, they're not going to know how to navigate rocky paths. But we have to give them some guardrails and be alerted when they do encounter those dangers. And so that's what Barc does. Talked about the algorithm and the artificial intelligence and the capabilities and the reach. We also offer filtering options and just screen time options because that's what our customers were asking for. And I can speak to that in a minute about just the differentiation between Barc and other platforms. We offer filtering so that you can prevent them from encountering as many bad things. Again, those are opportunities that are given to you through your internet service provider, your mobile carrier, sometimes children's school laptops, et cetera. But they're not perfect, and ours are great. Wanted to offer that as well. Barc also not only works with families, but we also help schools. So children, as you know, are given devices and accounts at school and need a good way to stay safe on those devices and accounts. And so Barc offers our tech to schools across the country at no charge.
And thank you so much for sharing and for helping schools, especially at no charge, because there's so many schools that wouldn't be able to afford these services, but we also need to be able to help protect those children. My question is going to be when I think it would be helpful, someone might be listening and be like, gosh, this is really interesting. So if said child is doing something that we don't really like and I get an alert, what does that alert look like? And what does the parent then do?
Yes. And so what it looks like is, let's say your child is on a text thread with some friends and one of those friends says, go kill yourself, which is really jarring, right? But that's how kids talk to each other today and tease each other. It's just where we are. Barc will send you an alert if it determines that your child is actually being cyberbullied. Barc will not send you an alert, and the alerts come via text and email. If, for example, that conversation is around like, oh my gosh, I just tripped in front of that boy I like, I'm going to go kill myself. That is not actual suicidal ideation. And we don't want to scare you and waste your time with the way children speak if it's not a serious threat. So that's a little bit about the difference between the nuances of language and what it looks like. Again, it'll come via text or via email or both. And you'll see a snippet of the conversation. You're not going to see the whole text thread, but you're going to see that part just to give you enough information about who said what and the context. When that comes, you'll also receive best recommended next steps for how to address. If your child is expressing the desire to hurt themselves, how do you deal with it? How do you talk to them? What are the resources that are available to us as a nation, hotlines, et cetera? And we give you best recommended next steps from professionals in the space, child mental health and wellness experts, because it is not easy. It is very, very hard, whether it's mental health, sexting, violence, online predation, a lot of difficult things we have to navigate as families. And so Barc will alert you and give you those steps for how to address.
Excellent. Very helpful. Thank you.
So if I'm a parent, yes, I am a parent.
You are a parent. You forget you have two.
Yes, I'll be reminded at 3:00. How do I go and think about how I might use Barc or Barc in conjunction with other tools so that I can have a better understanding of what's going on with my kids' online presence? If, as a parent, help walk me through what that odyssey might look like.
Absolutely. And I'll start with an analogy, if I can. You don't put your kid in a car without a car seat, eventually a seat belt, without car insurance. Yeah. You don't let them ride a bike without a helmet. You don't go to the beach without sunscreen. Like there's all these great opportunities we have in the world to experience and go further, faster, and adventure, but there's some safety precautions you put in place. That's Barc. Tech in and of itself is not bad. It's great. It's exciting. We have so much potential for creation and curation and competition, but it comes with dangers. And so we have to help protect our kids virtually, just like we protect them in real life with all the things I just mentioned. And so when you do decide to let your child access the internet, whether it's through the family iPad or they get a smartphone or it's a gaming console they're allowed to utilize or have, that's the moment where you implement Barc. And Barc will partner and connect with over 30 social media platforms, Apple or Android devices, certain gaming consoles to limit screen time. That's where it gets a little complicated because everybody has a different tech stack. Like in my home, my son has an iPhone. We have PS4. There's a family iPad. There's laptops. There's a lot, right? And so depending on how he's using it and what he's using, I've gone through the process of toggling on when I want him to be able to access the internet. I set time limits, not only in terms of when the access can happen, but for how long the access can happen. And full disclosure, Apple and Google offer free versions of this. So Apple has Apple Screen Time, Google has Google Family Link, and you can set time limits and implement filters with those softwares, which I use in conjunction with Barc. The way Barc is different, though, is that Google and Apple aren't going to alert you when your child has encountered an online predator or cyberbullying or thoughts of suicide and depression. Barc is going to alert you and not only tell you there's a problem, but give you best recommended next steps for how to address. And depending on updates to Apple and Google's operating systems and availability, Barc gives you a more specific level of customization, not only for your family, but per child. And it's just a more comprehensive way to manage the varied nuances of what you want your child to access and when, and who you want them to talk to and when. Was that all over the place or was that helpful?
No, I think it was helpful. The only follow-up
Okay.
I'd have to share with our audience, maybe when we send out our show notes, is where do you recommend that people go to learn more about these technologies? Because I know as a parent, and Jody, even though we're in the industry, we're constantly trying to learn more about these resources. So I'd love maybe we'll share them in the show notes as to where people can go to websites and whatnot to get further educated about the different tools. Because obviously you can't touch on them all in the limited time we have here.
Right.
But that would be pretty beneficial to our listeners. So we'll make sure we follow up and put that in the show notes.
For sure.
But the other follow-up question I wanted to ask was, and I think Jody and I have the same challenge that all parents do, which is how do we start a engaging conversation with our child about how they can go about being a successful digital citizen? Because in a way, they're kind of oblivious to all the things that you're talking about until they run up against it and they don't quite know, well, what is all this jarring language and pictures and whatnot? So maybe you can teach the two of us how we can have an engaging conversation with our 11-year-old, because we're always scratching our heads as to how to go about that in a productive way.
Totally. It's not easy, but I think the first thing I would comment on is it's not a conversation. It is multiple conversations. It's dialogue over the course of their lifetime. Before they can even speak, it's knowing that your children are observing you. Do you always have this up to your face, even at the dinner table? Are you always recording and photographing their every move? Or do you sometimes just enjoy things in the moment with them without having to capture it? As they get older, do they observe you, commenting on how many likes you get or comments you get on something, or always having to put, the most perfect image forward and everything that you post? Or are you more authentic in your communications? And do you value in real life communication just as much as digital? When your children get old enough to understand the concept of a tricky person, right? Like in our day, our parents would talk to us about stranger danger. I'm so sorry about my dogs. Speaking of kids, that's
stranger danger. I should be concerned about the dogs. Are you?
Yes. Yeah. Right. No, I think I am. That is my 12-and-a-half-year-old running around. But yeah, you might not talk to your 6-year-old about online predation, but you can talk to them about tricky people and how some people might seem really, really nice and cool online, and they might seem to know a lot about you, but they're tricky and they might not have good intentions. And so never, ever reveal PII. That's personally identifiable information, where you live, what your name is. Yeah. Your date of birth, your parents' names, where you go to school, none of that. That is a vault. You keep that in a vault, even if the person seems really nice, even if they are sending you gifts or coins, or just have your antenna up. As your children get older and as you deem that they can handle some heavier topics, one thing that has helped me have conversations with my son is to share what unfortunately has happened to other kids. When I hear in the news, and there are stories every day, but when I hear in the news about a child meeting somebody on Minecraft, and like leaving their house in the middle of the night to go meet this person and then never coming home, I share that with him. A, to help him understand that I'm not just full of hot air and catastrophizing, but B, let him know, like, I bet this kid was really smart. I bet his parents had these conversations with him, but somehow he still decided to leave his house and go meet this person, and now he's never coming home. And I don't want that to happen to you. There are so many stories in the news that you can share with your child in an age appropriate way that you think they can handle it, of like, let's not let this happen to you. And how do you think this happened? And have you ever heard of something like this happening? Has anything weird ever happened to you? Letting them know that that you're a safe place. They can talk to you about anything, even as cringy as it might be. And you're not going to judge them, and you're not going to punish them. A lot of kids are afraid to surface this sort of thing because they don't want to lose access. They don't want you to take away their game or take away their phone or remove their form of entertainment or social interaction. So it's not easy. It's ongoing. It's hard topics. It's earlier than you thought, and it's more frequently than you thought.
So on that theme, and I know we'll include for the show notes, but for those listening, what might be 3 places that parents can go to maintain their knowledge? Because we're in the technology space. We see it changing all the time. So there's new threats, there's new ways, there's new vulnerabilities in some of these social platforms. And what might be, avenues for people to stay informed?
Absolutely. And before I give you those 3 tips, I want to include one more thing, which is just misinformation. We talk a lot about these like intense dangers. There's just a lot of misinformation out there. So teaching your children how to search responsibly and vet sources appropriately and not just take whatever they see for truth is important. But
so you mean your favorite, it's on the internet search through, haha. You love that one. You're supposed to make fun. You're still on vacation. Okay.
I'm trying to decide after the last comment, I should just hide under the desk.
Oh, well, you could do that.
Yes.
I was trying to bring you back to reality.
I know. I have to be a parent, but sometimes I want to hide under the desk. But we don't have that option right now.
I know. I want to just put my baby back in my belly where he could just be safe from everything. But that won't work for a lot of different reasons. So, what are some three places parents can go? One is an amazing resource called the Parenting in a Tech World Facebook group. So for those of you who are on Facebook, and I get it if you're not, but if you're on Facebook, there's a group called Parenting in a Tech World where it's over 120,000 parents in there right now talking about this exact thing all day, all night. Speaking of Barc, that is my dog Rocky letting me know something's happening in the background. It's probably a deer outside, but apologies for that. But yes, the Parenting in a Tech World Facebook group covers all the things. And there's so many parents in there who are being really vulnerable with, hey, I'm dealing with this, or hey, what do you think about this? Or hey, Apple just came out with this. Here's what you should know. You'll get candid feedback about Barc and other tech options out there about, what people love about it, what people don't. So it's a pretty unbiased resource for anybody out there. I'd be remiss if I didn't share with you the Barc blog. That is a really great source of information for all of these things that we talked about. It's just barc.us/blog, or you can just go to barc.us and you'll see it on the page. But we're constantly, sorry.
I was going to ask you, is Rocky a consistent contributor?
Rocky, bless his heart, no, but he does keep me company as I read and write. So he's so sweet. He's an Australian Shepherd. Just goodness gracious, the sweetest dog ever. But anyway, back to parenting and tech. There is also a documentary that every parent should watch. And if you have let your child have access to social media, they're old enough to watch it. It's called Childhood 2.0. And it is a free documentary. You can get it on YouTube and a variety of other places. It's about 90 minutes and it goes into the world of what the world is like for kids today. You hear from kids and from mental health and other experts. So really powerful film. I encourage everybody to watch it. And then you asked for 3, but I'm going to give you 4. And there is a great resource called Protect Young Eyes. It is a site curated by Chris McKenna, who is a dad of 4. And he has some of the most comprehensive guides you can find around all the things. Great guy, great dad. He appears in Childhood 2.0. I subscribe to his newsletter. He keeps me informed. Just all around great resource. Protect Young Eyes.
Those are fabulous resources. I can't wait to check the video and the guide out. So thank you so much. Now, aside from protecting children, we ask our guests the same 2 questions, which the first one is, what is your best personal cyber tip? So just thinking about privacy and security overall, what is your best personal cyber tip?
Wow. That's so hard. That's so hard. I would have to say, use very strong passwords. I don't have the same password for everything. If every single thing that you log into is like your pet's name and your birthday, like you're just asking for trouble. So very, very, very strong passwords, all of them different. That can help mitigate a lot. Yeah, that's it.
You like that one?
I do, because I was listening to a conversation earlier today where we were talking about this exact topic, and people would say, I agree, that's good. But then when you would ask them, well, what do? They would sheepishly admit, well, it's inconvenient to have all those different passwords. I have to remember them. A password manager is, something else I have to pay for. And I'm like, would you rather have ID theft? And I thought it was interesting that you mentioned that, but yet I hear people say that and then sheepishly admit that I know that's what I should do, but it's inconvenient and I don't want a password manager, and they take the risk that you're talking about.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, it's the insurance analogy. Like, don't wait until you need it because it's way more painful to not have it.
That is for sure.
So let's change topics a little bit and just, what is it when you're not helping protect children with the Barc? What do you like to do for fun?
What do I like to do for fun? I love to create. I love to make jewelry, paint, dance, play with my dogs, spend time with my family. Probably the ultimate favorite thing to do is to be either creating or being physically active with my family and dogs all at the same time. That's like, dream world, whether it's Legos or hiking through the woods. Yeah, just quality time.
Well, that sounds like so much fun. Now, where can people find you if they want to learn more?
So if you want to learn more about Barc, it is so easy to do that. You just go to barc.us. For those of you that need to type the www before you go to a website, that's fine. You can type www.barc.us. It's not .com, it's .us. So that's the website. From there, you can do all the things. We have links to our social profiles and blog and all the things. If you want to connect with me personally, I am my name across all the places, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Smoke Signal, like all the things. It's Titania Jordan. And I'd love to connect with you and hear from you and put out quality content to help educate and empower you.
Well, thank you so much. It's incredibly important for parents to understand the risks that are out there for their kids in this digital world that we're in. It's ever changing. And I'm so grateful that you could spend time with us to share more about what Barc is doing to help protect our kids and all kids out there.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for raising awareness around these issues and for being the parents that you are, because you're awesome.
Thanks for listening to the She Said Privacy, He Said Security podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes and check us out on LinkedIn. See you next time.